He thought he lost everything when his wife died, leaving only a broken house in the forest and a daughter who no longer smiled. Then, one winter morning, a wounded puppy and a desperate mother appeared at their door. And the fight to save that tiny life became the fight to save their own family. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. A pale morning rests over the pines, dew still clinging to the wooden steps, and the air carries the hush of an untouched day. Alex Dawson opens the door with slow hands, the kind of movement learned from years of waking before sunrise. He is 40, tall and lean, a man carved by the distance between war zones and silent forests. His flannel jacket is faded at the elbows, boots scuffed by seasons of cutting wood and walking old trails. A short beard shadows his jaw. His eyes hold the softness of someone who has seen too much and is trying to live gently, as if each step might disturb something fragile in the world. Behind him, the small house smells of coffee grounds and pine smoke. Beside that warmth stands Emma, 11 years old, slight, long brown hair tied back. She wears a yellow knitted sweater that once belonged to her mother, a blue padded jacket over it. Her eyes are wide, bright, too old in some quiet way. The loss of her mother had folded her inside herself, and in the months since, she walked close to Alex, as if distance itself could break her heart again. On this morning, something waits on the porch steps. A German shepherd stands there, large, fur soaked through, breath trembling in the cold. Its coat is dark, thinning at the flank, where a long scar lies hidden under wet hair. The dog's head is lowered, and in its mouth hangs a small body. Another shepherd, a puppy limp and still. Alex feels his pulse slow, not from fear, but from a recognition he cannot name. The mother steps forward, places the puppy gently at his boots, then sits back, eyes fixed on him. A silence settles between them, soft and grave. Alex kneels. The wood under his knees is cold, but he does not move away. He looks at the puppy, fur matted, chest faintly rising. A life somewhere between leaving and staying. He remembers another morning, years ago, his wife stepping into a helicopter with crates of injured animals. The radio went quiet an hour later. Emma's hand tightens lightly around his coat now, pulling him from the memory. Her voice is a whisper, almost weightless. "Dad, she's like Mom, isn't she? She doesn't want to lose her child." The words settle into him like a falling pine needle, quiet but sharp. He had tried to shield Emma from pain, to build walls made of trees and silence. He never expected that grief would teach her to see what adults often miss. A mother's fear is the same in every species. Alex takes a breath. It tastes of cold air, melted frost, and something old in his chest, sorrow meeting purpose. He lifts the small body with steady hands. The puppy's fur is freezing against his palm. The mother watches, still as stone, but her gaze follows every inch of movement. Alex rises, turns toward the house. His boots make faint sounds on the wood, almost respectful. Inside, the house is dim, washed in the gentle amber of the hearth. He lays the puppy on a folded blanket near the stove. Emma kneels beside him, her hair falling forward as she studies the fragile rise of the pup's ribs. Alex hears his own heartbeat, slow and heavy, a drum from another life. He is not a doctor, nor a rescuer anymore. He is only a father, and that, somehow, feels like enough. He looks at Emma, then at the small body, and speaks softly to the mother outside, though she cannot hear. "I'll try." Emma rests her hand on the puppy's side, and Alex places his hand over hers. For the first time in months, she leans into him, not out of fear, but out of trust. Outside, the mother stays on the porch, unmoving, her breath rising in thin clouds. Alex closes the door but leaves the window curtain open so she can see that her child is not alone. The day remains quiet, as if the forest itself is waiting. Alex watches the puppy breathe, each shallow rise a fragile thread pulling him toward hope. He does not know if the animal will live, but he knows this: grief has shaped him long enough. Now he chooses a different shape. He speaks softly, to himself more than anyone. No one should lose their family today. Rain gathers in the clouds by late morning, a gray hush leaning over the trees as if the forest is holding its breath. Riley lies on the folded blanket by the stove, his breathing thin, hardly more than a ripple against the wool. Alex crouches beside him, the warmth of the fire touching his hands, but not the cold worry inside his chest. The phone rests between them on the floor, the voice of Dr. Mariah Carter coming through in steady, gentle instructions. She is 35, with a calm voice shaped by years among animals and people in trouble. Keep him warm, clean the bite, warm water. Honey if you have it, she says. Alex can picture her, tall, athletic, hair tied back, wearing a red flannel shirt and cargo pants, sleeves rolled to her elbows in the small-town clinic. Her tone carries firmness that never becomes harsh. Emma kneels on the other side of the blanket. She is quiet, but her hands are sure as she wipes the puppy's face with a soft cloth, dipping it into water. Her mother used to show her the way to treat small wounds on stray cats, how to let the animal feel your voice through your touch. Alex watches, seeing something shift in Emma, like a window that had been closed now opening a little toward the light. For months she had spoken little, kept her thoughts behind lowered lashes. Now her eyes follow Riley's struggle with a silent plea. Stay. The day moves slowly. Outside the window, Coda sits on the porch, a dark shape against pale wood. She does not scratch the door, does not pace. Her head is low, ears forward, watching the inside of the house as if her entire being lives in those few breaths her puppy still takes. Alex looks at her through the glass. He feels a weight in his chest, not fear, but recognition. He had once been that still, waiting outside a hospital door, hoping for someone he loved to continue breathing. Loss had taken more than a life from him. It had taken trust. Emma mixes the honey in warm water, stirring carefully. She draws a little into a small syringe, opening Riley's mouth with the tenderness a child often shows without being taught. The puppy's tongue moves once, a faint flutter toward sweetness. Alex exhales, a long breath he did not know he was holding. Good, Mariah says through the phone. A distant sound of clicking metal, then her voice again. Every minute counts. Call me if his breathing stops, even if you think it's over. Alex nods, though she can't see it. He sets the phone down with care, as if it were connected to more than a signal, connected to hope itself. Night settles with a quiet flicker from the logs. The storm arrives gently at first, tapping the window glass like soft fingers. Emma leans against Alex's arm, her head warm against his shoulder. Riley's breathing is steadier, though still fragile. Coda remains outside, even as rain begins to fall. The porch grows dark, and the only movement is the thin line of her breath in the wet air. Emma stares at that shape through the glass. After a moment, she whispers, "If I died, would Mom bring me to someone's door to save me?" The question lands deep. Alex closes his eyes. A memory rises, the final radio call, the static afterward. He wraps his arm around Emma, drawing her close, his voice low, almost lost in the crackle of the stove. Your mother spent her whole life saving others. She would have carried you anywhere if it meant you would live. Emma nods, not crying, not breaking, just holding the truth. Riley shifts, a small, tired breath. And outside, Coda lifts her head as if she heard something changing inside the house. Alex looks at the window again. In the dark reflection, he sees his own face beside Emma's, two silhouettes against a small life fighting to return. He doesn't know if the puppy will survive the night, but for the first time since the accident, he feels something moving in him. not the sharp edge of grief, but the fragile beginning of trust. He presses his palm gently over Emma's hand, resting on Riley's side. "Let's keep him warm," he says, voice soft, steady. We stay with him until morning. The rain has passed by morning, leaving the air cool and bright, drops clinging to pine needles like tiny mirrors of the sky. Riley sleeps more peacefully near the stove, wrapped in blankets that still hold a trace of honey on the wool. His breath rises a little stronger than the night before. Emma sits close, her knees tucked to her chest, watching every rise and fall with quiet devotion. Outside the window, the woods shine with damp bark and a thin mist drifting over the clearing. The door opens gently as Dr. Mariah Carter steps in, accompanied by a young wildlife rescuer named Leah. Mariah is in her mid-30s, tan skin, hair tied back, wearing a red flannel shirt under a light field jacket, boots still wet from her walk. Her voice is calm, low with experience, the kind of tone that comes from seeing life return to small bodies many times. Leah, younger, mid-20s, with freckles across her nose and a green jacket, carries the medical pack, her hands quick, careful. They kneel beside Riley. Needles, gauze, warm fluids. It is clinical work, but touched by something softer, the way Mariah's brow lowers in focus, the way Leah strokes a paw before cleaning it. Emma watches, eyes wide, absorbing every movement. Alex stands a step back, arms folded loosely, like he wants to help, but is afraid to disturb the fragile silence. He thinks of his wife, how she once treated animals like this in a dusty tent overseas. He remembers her voice saying, "Hands tell truth faster than words." He sees that truth now in his daughter, growing in her like a small flame. When they finish, Riley is breathing with more steadiness. Mariah sits back on her heels, wiping her hands, her face thoughtful. "He's been bitten by a larger male," she says quietly. "Territorial attack. He's lucky his mother got him this far. Lucky she found you." Before Alex can answer, a knock rattles the doorframe. Officer Blake stands there, mid-40s, tall, broad-shouldered, olive forestry jacket zipped to his collar. His hair is short, dark with some gray showing. His jaw has the rough shadow of a morning shave, eyes steady in a way that hides old doubts. He steps inside, hat in hand. His voice is firm, measured, shaped by years of enforcing rules nobody likes. "I heard you've got a wild shepherd in here, and her pup." Alex nods. The officer's gaze moves from Riley to Emma, then out the window toward the porch. Coda sits there still, watching through the glass, the rain-dried fur around her neck lifting slightly in the breeze. Blake clears his throat. "I need to say this. Dogs like her, they're classified as wildlife now. The law says she and the pup have to go to the center." The room holds stillness. Emma rises, her hands trembling, but her voice clear. "No one is taking them," she says, the small shape of her body standing between Riley and the world. Leah looks at her with soft surprise. Mariah stays quiet, but her eyes lift toward Blake. "Waiting?" Alex steps forward, slowly. His voice isn't loud, but something in it carries weight, the kind that comes from war zones and funerals. "They came here asking for help," he says. "I'm not handing them over like they're trash in the woods." Blake's jaw tightens, a conflict moving behind his eyes. He is a man tied to duty, but not untouched by what he sees. The child guarding a tiny life, the dog outside refusing to leave. He exhales. "If she gets aggressive defending the pup, I have to step in," he says, quieter now. "I don't want that, but the law doesn't care what we feel." Emma's eyes fill, but not with tears, only a deep, shaken understanding. Alex places a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. He feels caught between two fears, losing the trust of the animal outside and breaking something fragile inside his daughter. Riley stirs, kicking a small paw, and Emma's face lifts with sudden laughter, a sound too rare in this house. It spills into the room like light. Even Blake's expression softens, the edge of his duty bending under the warmth of that sound. The day lengthens. Decisions wait on the horizon like distant thunder. Outside, Coda rises, stretching stiff legs, her eyes fixed on the window. Alex watches her, feeling the pressure of two worlds pulling him apart, laws written on paper and the unspoken laws of belonging written in the eyes of a mother. He doesn't know the answer yet. But in that moment, as Emma leans down to kiss Riley's head, he chooses a promise inside himself, quiet and certain. "We'll find another way," he murmurs, more to his own heart than anyone else. Morning arrives in a pale wash of light, soft as breath over the distant ridge, the forest still wet with fading mist. Alex stands by the table, his hands resting flat against the old wood, the kind softened by years of meals, quiet mornings, and the weight of unspoken thoughts. Riley sleeps on a blanket nearby, strength returning in small, uneven pulses of breath. Emma sits on the floor, holding the puppy close against her knees, her face turned down as if hiding from the day itself. Outside the window, Coda waits in the trees, a dark shape among the wet pines, ears low, body still in the posture of both hope and caution. Alex knows the hour has come. His voice is low when he speaks, not sharp, but heavy with something deeper than sadness. "We can't keep him here," he says to Emma. She lifts her head, and in her eyes there is a frightened disbelief, a child's question. Why must kindness end? She gathers Riley tight against her chest, her fingers trembling in the fur. "I don't want to lose him like we lost Mom," she cries, voice cracking on the memory she rarely allows out loud. Alex kneels beside her, his knees creaking against the floor. He has avoided these words for so long, but there is no path forward without them. "I tried everything to keep your mother here," he whispers, eyes softened with years, beard shadowed by sleep. But love doesn't hold people in place. It gives them the freedom to live their own life, even if it means letting go. Emma's breath falters. In her small body, something shifts. Slow, painful, like a new truth settling into bone. She doesn't argue again. She just stares at Riley, her tears falling silently onto his fur. They walk into the forest in the early light. The air smells of wet earth and fir needles, the kind of scent that pulls memories from the deepest pockets of the mind. Emma walks beside Alex, holding Riley close. The puppy wakes, blinking at the trees, his head lifting toward the open world. When the clearing appears, Coda steps from the shadows. She is a German shepherd in her prime, tall, powerful, her coat dark with faint streaks of age near the ears. Her gaze lands on the two humans and the pup, her posture leaning forward, caught between instinct and the fragile thread of trust. Emma pauses, her breath short in her chest. She bends down, placing Riley on the soft grass. The puppy stands shakily, turns back to her. He steps forward, then returns, pressing his face into the front of her jacket. Emma closes her eyes. It is the kind of embrace that lasts longer than its moment. Alex watches, his heart tight in his chest, not from pain alone, but from the beauty of acceptance that his daughter shows, even through her tears. Coda approaches slowly. She sniffs Riley's neck, his flank where the bandages lie, her breath warm and heavy. She turns her head, looking at Alex with eyes that don't seek permission, only acknowledgement. In that gaze, he sees something he had not seen in months, a peaceful gratitude without words. Emma kneels on the ground, wiping her cheeks with the sleeve of her yellow sweater. She smiles through the tears, small, trembling, but real. With a gentle push, she sends Riley toward his mother. "Go," she says, voice soft. "Live your life." The puppy gives one last look, then limps toward Coda. Together, they step back into the trees, the forest absorbing their shapes like a door closing softly behind them. Alex stands still, his arm around Emma's shoulders. Neither speaks. There is no language for the moment when love transforms into letting go. The clearing is quiet, only the sound of a distant bird calling from a higher branch. Emma leans into her father, her breathing slow and even. The ache remains, but beside it, something new grows. A gentle trust in the world, as fragile and luminous as the morning light. Alex presses his chin lightly against his daughter's hair, the scent of pine and rain clinging to her jacket. He doesn't promise that everything will be easy. He only speaks the truth he has learned too late in his own life. "We let go, so they can live," he murmurs. Winter settles lightly over the clearing, snow resting on the branches like forgotten feathers. The months pass with a quiet rhythm. The forest changes in slow turns, leaves falling, light shifting, the wind learning the shape of the house again. Emma grows softer and brighter through the days, like something loosened in her heart. She walks the trails with a notebook tucked under her arm, small boots pressing prints into the wet earth. She writes about Riley, about the morning he was saved, about the mother waiting in the rain outside their door. The pages hold simple drawings, a dark shepherd near the trees, a smaller shape curled beside her, the house in the middle, like a safe harbor between two worlds. Alex watches her from the porch sometimes, coffee warming his hands. He is 40 now, but some mornings he feels older than the pines around him. His beard is flecked with gray, eyes softened by understanding he did not have before. Emma calls to him to look at the sky, or a bird, or a trail pressed by small paws in the snow. Her laughter returns, steady and clean. He remembers how silence used to fill the house like a weight. Now he can feel the air lighter, the rooms wider. Grief still lives in the corners, but it breathes easier. Snow arrives with the first days of December. It falls without hurry, layering the ground in white folds. Alex and Emma carry a pine wreath toward the porch, hands cold, breath turning to mist. They decorate the railing with small lights powered by a weak battery, glowing like quiet stars. The morning feels peaceful, as if nothing is expected except the warmth between them. Then Emma pauses, staring toward the tree line. Two shapes emerge. It is Coda first, stepping through the snow with a steady grace, her coat thick, dark, and edged with frost like silver. Her eyes are calm, alert, carrying no fear. Beside her stands Riley, no longer a weak pup, but a strong young German shepherd, shoulders rising with power, coat shining, ears sharp toward the world. His legs leave deep marks in the snow. Emma drops the wreath and runs. Riley lifts into a bounding stride, crossing the distance in seconds. He meets her with a high bark and presses his body against her legs, tail sweeping the cold air. Emma wraps her arms around him, face buried in his neck, the sound she makes somewhere between laughter and a sob. Alex stands at the top of the steps, a stillness turning warm in his chest. Coda walks forward without hurry. She lowers her head near Alex's boots and places something small at his feet. A piece of gnawed wood, smooth where her teeth have worked it. It is a simple gift, something carried over distance, chosen with intention. Alex leans down, picks it up gently. For a moment, he meets her gaze. Her eyes are steady, reflecting the quiet confidence of a mother who has found safety again in the world. Behind them, footsteps crunch lightly on snow. Officer Blake stands at the edge of the clearing, olive coat, buttoned, hands tucked into his pockets. He watches the reunion without a word. The conflict he once carried is gone from his shoulders. After a moment, he nods to Alex, a nod of understanding, and turns back toward the trees. Not every story between humans and the wild must end with capture. Some end with respect. Alex looks at Emma. She is kneeling in the snow, Riley's head pressed into her arms, her face bright and open despite the cold. Coda stands beside them both, her breath rising gently into the winter air. He thinks of all the days that led to this one, the fear, the letting go, the hope that came from loss. He steps down from the porch, the snow crunching beneath his boots. His voice is low, shaped by gratitude. "Love isn't keeping them here," he says. "It's letting them return when they choose." Emma looks up, her cheeks red from cold, eyes shining. A wide smile breaks across her face, the kind untouched by grief. "I know," she says. "In life, love often means letting go, trusting that what was meant for us will return in its own time. Many of us know the quiet weight of loneliness, the rooms that feel too large after loss, the slow days of pain and illness. But like Emma and Alex, we can still choose tenderness. We can still open the door to kindness, even in winter. If this story touched your heart, please share it, leave a comment, and subscribe. May God bless every viewer tonight, especially those fighting sickness, silence, and the long shadows of age. You are not alone.